With luscious blue turquoise seas and miles of golden sandy beaches to walk on and acres of rainforest to explore filled with walking trails and beautiful waterfalls and a distinct cultural identity, well, Mauritius is deservedly on the bucket list of many. But if you are planning to visit Mauritius, what are the things you should know before making that holiday booking? Well, here are 15 tips to help you plan your perfect Mauritius holiday. And our first tip is to choose your location based on your preferred travel style. There is a great deal of variety in the holiday experiences offered in the various resorts around the island, and if you've never travelled there before, then it's hard to know which resort to pick. So if you want nightlife and shopping, go to the north of the island and the Grand Bay area. But if you want high-end luxury resorts in a quiet and more remote setting, then head south to the resorts like Le Morne and Bel-Ombre. Resorts like Truro Beach, Flic and Flac and Belmare, well, they can be more family friendly and offer a range of accommodation types too. Our second tip is not to worry about the language barrier, as Mauritians speak English, French and Mauritian Creole and switch between them with enviable ease. If you are an English speaker, then you'll have no problems whatsoever on the island, and knowing some words in French, well, that brings a smile and appreciation in many circumstances. Tip 3 relates to the electrical system, and Mauritius uses Type G UK style plugs, so if you're travelling from the UK or Ireland or any of the other 50 plus countries using this plug, then there is no need for an adapter. Tip 4 is to eat out because it's cheap, and if you're considering that all-inclusive holiday option, well, think again. See, eating out in Mauritius we found to be relatively cheap, with a good meal and drinks equating to around £10 per person in most areas. And there's a great selection too, with local Mauritius cuisine being a real treat and very tasty. And street food works out even cheaper, with meals costing just the equivalent of a few pounds. And eating out and eating this way can work out a lot cheaper than eating at the hotel. Tip 5 is to take a raincoat, and the best season to holiday in Mauritius is between May and December. These are traditionally drier months, but even in these months heavy rains are not uncommon, and the weather can be very different in different regions of the island. The island is rich in rainforest and stunning waterfalls, and I guess that water has to come from somewhere. And this next tip is important if you plan to go snorkelling, and the abundant marine life on the many coral reefs on the island lagoons are a real draw for many tourists, and these reefs are teeming with incredible fish who are often curious about the visitors to their home. However, the numerous speedboat trips and tours that also take place in these same lagoons are a hazard to tourists, and before going snorkelling, we'd advise that you seek advice from either your hotel or trip provider as to where are the safe areas for snorkelling. There are some areas that are roped off which can allow you to snorkel safely rather than risk a close encounter with an outboard motor, so stick to these. And our 7th tip, well, beach shoes are a must. And walking those golden sands, whether it's during the day or to watch the spectacular sunsets, is one of the highlights of a Mauritius holiday. But if you like to dip your toes in the lovely warm seas, taking a pair of beach shoes is a great idea. And whilst there are small risks from species like stonefish, sea urchins are common in the lagoons and on the shoreline and can provide a painful wound if you step on one. Our 8th tip is to check out admission prices if you are going to take a taxi tour around parts of the island. And pretty much every taxi you'll see will stop and offer you a tour to parts of the island, North Tour, South Tour, and taxis can be a really good way to see the island without the stress of driving or hiring a car. And whilst they initially seem cheaper than excursions and tours offered by your hotel or holiday provider, there are extra costs for the places and attractions that you go and visit. So our tip is to check these extra costs either with the hotel who booked your taxi or with the taxi driver before getting in. But they are a good way to see the island and you get the car all to yourself. Tip 9 relates to public transport, and options are limited, but if you like to travel like a local or just save money, then public transport is often a good option. But in Mauritius there are a few pitfalls to be aware of. Public buses stop running completely after 6 PM, and at bus stops, well, you won't find information about which routes stop there and where they go to. However, do not worry, as often there's a friendly local around who can help you and guide you on the best way to get to your destination. One local told us to completely forget about travelling on a bus in the south of the island, as they were very irregular services and there was a risk that we would get stranded. Taxi services do appear to be more reliable, but pricing for the trips is rather erratic, and we experienced examples of extortionate pricing for us as tourists by some drivers. It's always best to confirm the price with the driver before getting in the vehicle. Now for tip 10, and Mauritius offers experiences for the adventurous also, from walks in the luscious rainforest to mountain hikes and even zip lines and ATV tours. In our view, it seems wrong to overlook this aspect of the Mauritius experience, but our tip here is to book a guide. And there are several tour operators on most high streets that will sell you an experience like this, or you can look for guides on sites like Viator or even Get Your Guide. And we feel that booking a guide can help you get the most out of the trips that you book and ensure that you return safely. Now for tip 11, and we'd recommend that you took some local currency. And the Mauritian rupee is the official currency in Mauritius, and most purchases you will make will be in rupees. Now we say most, but not all, and you may find that purchases at your hotel are in euros, and also that some tour operators also charge in euros. But these costs in euros can easily be paid on a debit or credit card, and many places take credit and debit cards all across the island. But we found that having a small amount of Mauritius rupees as cash in our pockets was helpful when eating out, for paying tips, but also for purchases at markets. Tip 12, and what about those markets? Well, market bartering is a thing in Mauritius, in street markets, and particularly in Port Louis and its famous market areas. Bartering is generally discouraged in other retail outlets, and it's good to remember that. But when at the market, we were advised by a local taxi driver to aim for a 50% reduction in the original asking price, but we have to say that we got nowhere near that in practice. But maybe we need to practice our bartering skills just a little bit harder. Now tip 13, and it is about tipping for service in cafes and restaurants, and it is discretionary in Mauritius, but the locals do pride themselves on excellent customer service, and it has to be said that we found service to be excellent everywhere we travelled on the island, and a tip of 10% or more is certainly appreciated by the staff, so we'd recommend that you do that. Tip 14 is about car hire, and car hire can appear an attractive and low-cost way to explore the island for many people. And indeed it can be, with hire companies present in most resorts or even operated by your hotel. But if you do hire a car, be aware that Mauritius drives on the left-hand side like in the UK and Ireland. Roads we found to be congested pretty much everywhere, particularly around the Port Louis area, and driving can be a little erratic at times, with stray dogs pretty much everywhere on the island, so be minded of that before you decide to take the car hire option. And our 15th and final tip is not to forget the bug spray and mosquito repellent. And whilst the island doesn't really have a malaria risk, mosquitoes are a problem across the whole island, so don't forget to pack that repellent and bite cream. And also be aware of the other diseases that can be transmitted via mosquito bites in case you are taken ill. Always read the bite prevention and medical guidance on sites like Travel Health Pro before you travel. So those are our 15 tips to help you have the best experience whilst holidaying in beautiful Mauritius. It is a wonderful place which blends raw natural beauty with a vibrant blend of cultural traditions drawn from its history and relationships with its neighbouring countries and colonial past. It is a bucket list destination, most definitely. Thank you for watching this video.
If you like this video, please leave a comment below.
If you want to see more of our adventures, why not subscribe?